Hi guys, how are you doing today? Welcome back to Random Lifestyle Vlog. If you're new here, my name is Paulina. This channel is all about beauty and today we're going to focus on some makeup, and that's actually going to be Huda beauty makeup. I have quite a few products to test, so let's start. So I have some new stuff and some not so new stuff. I didn't really have that much time to cover it this autumn, so now's the time. So first up, we're going to talk about this Huda Beauty Easy Blur set. So this is her Easy Blur primer, and then we also have Easy Blur Natural Airbrush Foundation. These two products used with Huda's setting powder are supposed to give you this almost like airbrushed finish on your skin. So we're going to test these first. And I also have some products from her Icy Nude collection. So that's obviously going to be the palette. And then we have two of her blushes, her controversial looking Icy Nude face gloss and her liquid blush too. The one I've got is in shade Coco Loco. So without further ado, let's start. Okay, so as you can see, today my red cheeks are like particularly visible, which is not necessarily a good thing, but it is a good thing for the purpose of this video because we'll be able to see how much coverage this foundation has and how well this primer and foundation combo works. So we're starting with the primer. This is what it looks like, and I'm going to apply it on one side of my face first. That way we'll be able to see how it works properly by comparing the sides. So this is what the primer looks like. It does have this like a silicone feel to it, even though it does not contain silicones. Okay, so this is just one side of my face. Obviously this is a clear product, so there's not really that much difference, but I think, like looking at my skin really closely, I feel like it is a little bit more blurred. So I guess that's something you would expect from a silicone-based primer. As I said, this one doesn't contain silicones, and it doesn't feel silicone-y on my skin, if that makes sense, but it does have the slight blurring effect. So as I said, I can see a tiny difference in my mirror, but I'm not really sure if you'll be able to tell on camera. This side of my face looks a little bit more blurred up close. Okay, so time for the foundation. So this is Natural Airbrush Foundation, Easy Blur. I have shade Tres Leches. I hope the color is going to be right for me. I kind of like blind spotted, as I always do. I don't know why. It's so easy to just go to, I don't know, Selfridges or like any other shop and just kind of like test it, but I don't know, I feel like I just like taking my risks. Hopefully the shade's going to be alright. It's supposed to be like warm undertone, kind of like a medium shade. I think it's golden undertone, so it should be alright. Also, I bought it some time ago. As I said, I didn't really have time to test these properly. So it might be a little bit too dark, but we'll make it work. So this is the shade. Do you know what? It might actually be alright-ish. Yeah, it's probably going to match, at least to some extent. Okay, so let's blend it all in. Okay, the shade matches surprisingly well. And what do we think so far? I think it has a really lovely coverage. Obviously, I'm not wearing any color corrector or concealer, so this is just a foundation. And I think it did a pretty good job with covering those areas that needed to be covered. So here are my eyes, the dark circles. I mean, they were not super prominent, but there was definitely a bit to cover here. This is actually really nicely sorted. I don't think I'll need any concealer, not to mention color corrector around this area. This foundation is definitely going to be enough, especially for like every day. I think if I were to film a video, I would add a little bit of concealer here just to brighten this area, but as far as coverage goes, I think it's pretty good. Same thing with the redness here. It's actually really nicely covered, but it's a very natural coverage. Okay, so far so good. I really like the coverage. I really like how natural this foundation looks and feels on my skin, and I'm really surprised with how well the shade matches my skin. So that is perfect. I have dry skin, so honestly I think I could leave it like that. I think this looks really lovely. I feel like it already has this soft glow promised effect. It's really nicely blurring. It has this glow from within. Love it. But technically this is a 3-step routine to give you this perfect blurred effect, and the third step would be Huda's setting powder. And by the way, these are amazing. So I've got the one in shade Peach Pie, and I'm going to add a little bit. I always apply my setting powder with a brush because I have dry skin, and for most people applying it with like a sponge or a powder puff will work. For me, it's always going to make my skin look drier. So that is my personal choice, but I always use a brush. And I'm just going to apply a little bit of that powder. Not necessarily all over my face, but I'm going to apply a bit on my forehead, on my nose, under my eyes, and here on my chin too. And voila! So on this side of my face, we have Huda's Easy Blur Primer, Easy Blur Foundation, and her setting powder. And this side of my face has like no makeup on whatsoever. So final thoughts, I love it for how natural it looks. It does the job, it covers the discoloration to some extent. So pretty good coverage, but quite natural, very natural finish. But yeah, Huda Beauty Easy Blur, thumbs up. Okay, let me just repeat these things on the other side of my face, and we're going to move on to the Icy Nude collection. Alright, so we're going to start our Icy Nude test from the palette. So this is the box, and this is the palette. I actually really love this packaging. I think it's beautiful. So apparently this is the last large Huda Beauty palette. Which I'm not really sure why. I always loved her large palettes, probably more than her like 9 pans, but I don't know, she probably has like lots of ideas in her head already, and that's why she's doing this. Icy Nude is taking staples to new levels. This modern wearable palette is packed with matte eyeshadows in shades of nudes, browns, greys, and pinks, contrasting against icy and sparkly pinks and silvers, a multichromatic white, and a platinum biodegradable glitter eye topper for that extra attitude. So I actually really like the fact that we have cool toned palette. We've had so many warm tones palette recently. It seemed like they were all the rage last year, and now we have something cool toned, and look how stunning this looks. I mean, this is really, really pretty. I'm really excited to give it a go. So let's quickly swatch everything. So first up is Iced Out, and oh my god, look at this. This is stunning. This is like proper eyes. I love that. Okay, next up is High Life. Then we have Platinum. And then Unapologetic. As you can see, this didn't swatch that well, but bear in mind, I actually swatched it in a very awkward place. So I guess it will potentially swatch a little bit better somewhere else. Let me just repeat that swatch here. Yeah, it's actually not that bad. So it was just the very awkward place I swatched it on. Okay, let's move on. Next up, we have Faux Fur, Gold Standards, Avalanche, and Aurora. VVS. Ooh, that one is very buttery. And next up we have Poised, She Rich, and Cold Plunge. So the next one is IDGAF. Next we have Bling. This is a topper. Then Oneself and Diamond Dew. And then the last two, which I'm barely able to like squeeze in. So this is Lavish. And then the last one, very awkward place as well, like pretty much on my elbow, but this is going to be First Class. This shade over here. So yeah, these are all the swatches. I think most shades swatched pretty well. This one didn't, but as I said, this is because it was swatched in a very awkward place. I'm just going to correct it slightly. See? It's actually much more pigmented than in the first swatch. It was just a really random place. But yeah, these are all the shades. I mean, some of these are not really great swatches because of the placement. I honestly feel like I used to be better at these swatches. I was able to like squeeze everything in, and now I'm just like struggling. So anyway, this actually looks very promising. I love the fact that we have some really lovely dark mattes here, but the shimmery shades, these look stunning. I mean, this one here, and then we have like some really cool glittery swatches here too. So yeah, let's jump in and let's try and create something with this palette. All right, so I wanted to create something very cool toned and very kind of like icy, and that's what I did. In order to do that, I didn't really use many of those darker shades, but I feel like we have so many really nicely pigmented mattes here that we can create literally endless looks with this palette. So I'll definitely be playing a lot more with this palette in the upcoming days, but for now let's focus on recreating what I did here on my other eye. So first up, I started with this shade over here. This is Avalanche. This is this matte off-white shade, and I applied it all over my eyelid, but I focused on this inner part here. So as you can see, even though this is quite a light shade, it is pretty pigmented. You can definitely see this on my eyelid. Next up, this shade here, this is Oneself, and I'm applying this shade, focusing here on this outer corner. So my outer corner and my crease. Next up is highlight, this one over here. And I'm using it to build up this outer corner and crease even more. Now I'm going to take this very thin, precise brush and I'm going to apply a little bit of this super dark shade here, which is Sheer Rich, and I'm going to apply it along my lower lash line. Now I'm moving on to this shade over here, which is Poised, and I'm going to use it to blend this lower lash line. And I'm going to use the same shade to build this outer corner. Next up, back to our highlight shade up here, and I'm going to use it to blend this lower lash line even more. Now this pale pink shade in a corner, and I'm going to add a little bit of that here in my eye corner to lighten it up a little bit. I can't believe how pigmented these light shades are actually. Quite often these are not really that visible on my skin, but in this case, I mean... Okay, so as far as mattes are concerned, I think we're pretty much done. As you can see, we didn't really use much of these darker shades. So as I said, you can probably create quite a lot of looks with that. Since my look was supposed to be more icy, I didn't really want to use like those super dark shades. But yeah, there are a lot of opportunities here. So now we're going to add some shimmer to it. The shade I used all over my eyelid is this one here. This is VVS. And I'm just going to use my finger and tap it. I'm not going to lie, there is some fallout happening, so if you can, it's probably best to do your eye makeup first. Otherwise, you will end up with some glitter on your cheeks and then you just have to deal with that later. But this is a really stunning shade. And then the last thing I used was this shade here, the icy one, Iced Out. And I applied a little bit of that in my inner corner. And there you go. Now that I'm looking at it, I'm thinking that in order to make this eye look more icy, I should have probably used like a silver eyeliner instead of this black one, but it's too late now. I'm just going to finish it off the way I did with my left eye, and then we'll have a closer look at the blushes. Okay, so what do we do next? I think I want to do this one, the controversial face gloss. So this is Icy Nude face gloss in shade Frostbite. There's only one shade, by the way, and I only have one question. Why does it have to look like that? Like, honestly, it just looks gross. Why would anyone want to create a product, like a beauty product, that looks like that? I honestly do not believe that there is a reason for this to look like that, apart from the kind of like shock value situation. Like, everyone talks about how gross this is and, you know, how pretty it looks on your face. But yeah, I think that's that. That kind of like answered my own question here. I think this is literally for the shock value. Anyway, I've seen some videos of people using it. It's supposed to look really nice on your cheeks. And I actually have one of those blush glosses from her grunge collection, and it did look really pretty. So I believe this is going to look quite nice. Let's swatch it first. So as you can see, it actually shows on my finger already, and yeah, this is the shade. That's actually really pretty. It looks very flattering. It's supposed to adjust to your skin pH, which might be the reason why it actually looks so nice on everyone. So this is Dewy Highlight Non-Sticky Highlighter. Use fingertips, sponge or brush to apply gloss on top of skincare or makeup to add a dewy blush highlight to cheeks. So a highlighter, but with a little bit of blush in it, so highlighting blush. The other product that we're going to test is a bronzing blush or something like this. So again, a crossover between the two, but I'm going to apply one of these products on one side of my face, the other one on the other, so that we can actually see how it looks separately, and then I'm going to try and kind of like blend it in together. So I'm going to use a brush, and I'm just going to apply it here. Ooh, okay. That is much more pigmented than I expected. I kind of expected this to be a very gentle kind of like product, but all I can say is maybe be a little bit more light-handed with this than I was. I'm just going to take a clean brush and try to kind of like make it look more wearable. Okay, that is actually that is actually really pretty, but do not underestimate this product. It looks like something that's going to be quite sheer and I don't know, but it does have quite a kick to it. It does have quite a lot of pigmentation. So I really love the fact that it's quite cool toned. It goes really well with this eyeshadow palette. Very flattering shade, but as I said, much more pigmented than I expected. But anyway, this is what it looks like. Very flattering, a little bit glowy, but not too shiny or anything like that. It's giving this very natural finish. Frostbite, I think it's quite a good name for that because, as I said, it is pretty natural. So we've got that side of my face done pretty quickly. I thought I would have to like build it up, but no, it was the other way around, if anything. So let's move on to the last product of today's video, and this is our blush filter liquid blush. The one I've got is in shade Coco Loco. So this is actually the darker one. I chose the darker one not because I thought it was more suitable for my skin type, but because I like the shade a little bit more. It seemed a little bit more cool toned too, so I thought it's going to be a nice one to try. So this is what it looks like. Does it smell? Yeah, it has this really nice yummy scent to it, which I really love. So here's the swatch. This one, as you can see, is quite pigmented. Let's blend it out a lot. Yeah. This is what it looks like. So this is a crossover between a bronzer and a blush. And it says here, lightweight, melts on skin, soft focus finish, blush filter Icy Nude. So technically this is a blush, but due to like some browns in it, it's going to double up as your bronzer or contouring product. So what are we going to do with that? Let's just try and apply it like that. It's actually really pretty too. I'm going to add a little bit more so that the two sides of my face are more comparable. I definitely added a little bit more product on the left side of my face. I'm just going to build it up. You know what, that's actually quite interesting, but these two products are giving me a very similar effect. Like the gloss is giving me a little bit more glow, so this side of my face is a little bit more glowy. This one has more of this kind of like a satin finish to it, so it's a little bit different on my skin, but the results are not that much different. Both of these products are quite cool toned, so they go really well with the eyeshadow palette. But yeah, I kind of expected these to be quite different, and I was pretty sure I would have to even out the differences between the two sides of my face, whereas at this point I don't really see that much difference, to be honest. Like there's literally the slightest difference in the shade, but I wouldn't even say it's that visible. And then, as I said, this gloss is a little bit more glowy, but to be honest, I don't really see that much difference. So yeah, that's crazy. But anyway, this is everything for today. I tried quite a few products from Huda Beauty, so let's quickly sum everything up. So first up, the Easy Blur Duo, love it. A very lovely duo to create this seamless yet very naturally looking makeup. Love it, definitely something I will be using quite a lot. And then we have our Icy Nude collection. The palette is beautiful. I'll definitely be creating multiple looks with this palette in the upcoming few months. This is like a perfect wintry color story, and also the novelty of this neutral yet cool toned palette. I didn't really try a really good cool toned neutral palette in a while, so yeah, I love that. And then we have these two blushes. They're both really nice, but considering how similar they look on my skin, I think I could do with only one of these. I don't think I definitely needed both of these, but now that I have them, I'll probably use them up anyway, so that is fine. It's just interesting that they look so similar on my face. I was actually a bit surprised with that. Anyway, I'm actually pretty happy with my haul. I discovered some really lovely products today. But what do you guys think? Have you tried any of these? If so, let me know what you think about them in the comment section down below. Thank you very much for watching. For more makeup related content, check those videos over here. I'm going to see you very soon. Take care. Bye!